Next week for week 4, the game plan is to get the board and batten done. So I just had these boards out in the garage. That's not the boards we're using, but I spaced them out just to kind of see how it was going to look. And I drew my line as well, just so I could paint this bottom section. Of course, how I had the board spaced, it covers up this outlet. So I'm going to redo it with the actual boards when I'm ready to set those. I picked the height that I did right here just so I could basically wrap around the little details of the door. So we're gonna have a board here, a picture ledge, pegs, and then the vertical boards. And just to kind of show you, so this is the living room with the board and batten wall. And then I transitioned into this pop of color focal wall. I'm wanting to do a big round mirror here. So that's kind of on the agenda, but I'm not sure if I like just having one wall be this ombre gray color. So I'm gonna wait until we get the built-ins. I'm gonna wait until we get the peg rail and the board and batten wall done. But tentatively what I'm thinking is I might just carry this color through the whole east wall. So this is a little bump out for the closet, paint that, all sides of it. And then on our board and batten wall, maybe just paint the top section, the ombre gray. I just think it might flow better. But I'm not going to do any more painting except for the board and batten section until pretty much everything's done and I have more pieces in place. So my original plan was to paint the board and batten the same color as the trim and interior doors. And there was an entire gallon in the basement of the color, so makes even more sense. So I have a coat I need to cut in here at the bottom. I've done a coat on the boards. However, I did not do the edges, and I know there's going to be knots and imperfections. And I'm gonna wait because I'll have nail holes once I hang them to actually put some wood filler in and do a second or third coat, but I figured it's less work to get one coat out of the way, especially because I'm waiting on my neighbor to bring his nail gun. Also, in the meantime, I realized, oh, I never painted that little section. And then I also dropped the boards and put some gashes there in the wall. So I'm probably gonna at least touch up paint. So looking at it, I love it as part of just the room. I think it will go better once we have the built-ins, so I'm not looking at camo wall. This is actually the color of the focal wall. So you can see it's a little bit different than the samples that I painted. I didn't even paint a sample of it. I just did it on a whim. Assumed I would like the color, which I do really like the color. I'm still not sure about all of this together. So I'm guessing I'm painting to paint because I'm probably going to take this ombre gray, wrap it around this closet bump out and paint it up top or paint it at the bottom. That I can't decide. I probably will live with it for a while until I get the motivation to paint over what I've literally just painted. And then when I am for sure with everything, I am going to paint the switch and our little light covers, the wall color, and you can see I still haven't put the chair rail back up yet. Okay, making progress, getting things nailed on. So I ended up just hitting this with the sander because I could not figure out how to get the saw turned. And because our edges are rounded, I was really concerned about that. And then here at the bottom, I did the same thing. I just hit the boards with the sander because otherwise they were coming out wider than the baseboards. So I studied and studied and studied, and then I threw everything that I thought about out the window, and literally all I did was put the outlet cover on, line up a board beside it, and then just go 15 inches or 15.5 inches from each board. It worked out fine. And then I just pretended that this was walled. So I measured on where the boards would have lined up if it had been a wall. And that's where I put them. So this top board is crazy warped. And the little tape is where the studs are. So not a single board, vertical board, is going into a stud, which is fine except for the boards that are super warped, which this one will get fixed with caulking because there is quite a gap. And I applied the nails by going in one way and then going in the other so that they would cross. But my nails just really aren't that long. And so it's just not going to be perfect. So this is probably the worst board. This corner is definitely the worst corner because there is a stud right here supposedly. So I was trying to angle the nails to get the stud because this vertical board is out farther than my horizontal board. But you can see the nails are there, but there's no amount of pressing on that to get it to suck back. So I think either one, I'm gonna hit it with a sander, two, I'm just gonna caulk the seam and not worry about it, to be determined. I could probably go get some longer nails because the nails I'm working with are not the longest, but depending on how many I have to buy, I'm sure you have to buy in bulk essentially, and it might just be more than I want to spend for like literally a handful of nails. Okay, I picked the worst small boards possible. So warped, but I can nail this one and get it lined up, I think. So that will be fine. It's discolored, which makes it look worse than it is. But then I'm not really sure what I want to do here because I did draw on the pin or with a pin on the board the angle that I have on this lower board, but I don't know. Should I come out at a whole angle? Should I just leave it like that? I could see the boys walking from their room and then just clocking their head on it. And does it look weird because I angled the bottom board? I'm gonna have to think on this one. Good morning, a little early Saturday. Actually, it's Friday. The kids just don't have school, so it feels like Saturday. Friday morning check-in. So I just put a coat of paint. It's still wet on everything, and I just got to the point where I needed to paint it in order to see the flaws that needed to be sanded or fixed. So it's probably still going to take another coat of paint, and then I'm going to have to trim in the tan color, which now I'm drawing a blank on what that color was, but because I just was sloppy with the creamy. And so I'm very close. So since I videotaped, I think last time, I've used caulk against the drywall and the wood to fill holes. I used wood patch, some spackle to fill in nail holes, knots, any rough texture on the trim. And then, I shellacked it, but my shellac I think was old. It was very runny. The tray must have been dirty, or when I dumped it, I got rust from the rim, and so chunks of crap were in it, so that was annoying. And then I did that last night, and then I painted this morning. So I'd already had one coat on the vertical boards and on the drywall, but I know it's going to need a second coat, especially because now that it's the creamy color, it's so much easier to see where I needed wood filler and I missed, or I didn't put enough, or, you know, something that needs sanded because it's rough. Good morning. We are in week 5 of the challenge. Been working on laundry. And I'm behind a little bit because last week I should have finished my board and batten wall and the peg rack. Well, I'll show you, turn the camera around and show you how the board and batten wall is going. It should be done, but of course I've had a ton of issues, and so I keep wrapping up my paint roller and paintbrush in plastic because I keep needing it. So hopefully I'm tackling it today and just going to get it done. And then I'm supposed to be shopping for decor, which I haven't had time because I've had other things that have been higher priority. And 2, supposed to be getting the book built-ins installed. So I know the wood got delivered last Tuesday, so the carpenter has had it now for a little over a week. He didn't really give me a time frame for installation. Back when I scheduled my 1 week, 1 month, not 1 week, 1 room challenge, I just guesstimated. We hadn't even like ordered wood or anything at that point. So I was just fingers crossed, you know, you wish it and it'll wish it true, make it happen. So who knows when that will be done, but we know it will eventually be done. And then I will have the task of staining it or sealing it or doing whatever I need to do to it. I want to have the white oak look or raw wood look. So that will be a whole another project. But let's look at this board and batten. So I feel like I can never put my stuff away. So it looks pretty good, right? Well, I guess it doesn't look that good. The problem is that this, like the paint wants to crackle, really just on the one board. This one, I guess, has it a little bit. It looks more visible on the camera. So I put a coat of polyurethane or polyacrylic on this yesterday. And then since I was doing it, I did it on the whole thing. And then when I was doing it, then I saw, oh, well, here's a little knot that I didn't get all of the, you know, wood filler in. So I went around, that's kind of the lighter color, dull stuff that you're seeing. And I just used wood filler because I got to repaint it all anyway. So today I'm going to hit it with a sandpaper, probably hit it with some polyacrylic again, and then hopefully I will be able to paint the last coat. The other issue we had is I just used a brush for the polyacrylic. And yesterday what I did was I cut in everything to make it look pretty for the Edgecomb gray. So that is done. I've packed that brush up. But I did paint right here with it because there were some runs. I was trying to see if you could see any left over. And I hit it with the sandpaper. And then when I was hitting it with the sandpaper, I chunked off the, let's see if I can get it to focus. I chunked off the paint, sealer, everything. So I went over it with a sealer, I went over it with paint, and it's probably still going to have issues with the texture right there. But I painted it the dark color so I would know and remember to really focus on that section. The other thing that I did yesterday besides trimming in is I painted to the side of the fireplace. Now, the built-ins are going to get butted up to that whitest part on the mantle. So I definitely painted over far enough. But I just took my time and cut in on that. And then I did not go to the ceiling because we're going to have some crown molding up there. So I figured, why waste my time doing that? But I'm hoping to convince hubby this weekend. We have like a million holes from where we attempted to hang the TV when we first moved in. We had a different TV mount bracket because of the location of the outlets. They're kind of right there in the middle. And then we couldn't get the mount to hit a stud unless we scooted it over a certain spot. Well, then when we scooted it over a certain spot, everyone's like on social media is like, yeah, your TV just slides over on that mount. Yes, we know that. We slid it all the way over and it still was not centered above the fireplace. Brooke can't handle that. So we took that nicer mount back, went and got a cheaper mount that we have in the basement and had installed, so we knew that it would work up here. However, do you see how low my TV is? It's like touching the mantle. I hate that. But we were so fed up with the long ass process of mounting this thing that I was just like, we'll go with it, knowing that in the future we would change it anyway. So what we're going to do is add, and I'll share a picture here, we're going to add basically some wood so that it will hit both of the studs that are not centered. Well, they're kind of centered, but the one is running up right where the outlet is and where the like cable hookup is, which who even uses cable anymore? And so that way the plugs don't get in the way from the mount. We can position the mount however we want because it would be on wood and we don't have to worry about it going into a stud because that wood would be into a stud and blah, blah, blah. And then with the couch position compared to the couch we had when we first moved, it is so much closer to the television that my husband is like, we need to get a TV that will drop down in front of the fireplace so we can watch TV and then pop it up when we're not watching TV. So I think we're going to splurge and buy a different mount so that our head doesn't have to be leaned back so much. And then you can so see it right now. That has to be the carpet seam. I mean, why would the carpet installers put the carpet seam right there? But the more I'm in this house, the more evident that is, I guess, or it is a shadow from the couch, but I don't know. So when I'm shopping, I need to find a sofa table to go here. I'm trying to decide if I want to do pegs here. So originally, that's the whole reason I did this. I was going to do pegs up here. Well, then I also saw that people will do pegs down here on the drywall or do just like basically like a coat hook. So I know I want to frame. So that's another thing I'm looking for is 3 matching frames. I want to frame the wallpaper, which is my inspiration for this entire space, and put those 3 up there. But then I would really like to hang like it's called an Adirondack pack. I haven't even found one, but I would still like to do it. And then I know this is not my living room or part of the 1-room challenge, but I did, when I had the Edgecomb grate out, this little section needed another coat because it was the end of the gallon. And then the phone is totally making this look better than it does in person. But I can't cut it in any better than I did. One, it's at the top of the stairs. So I literally like sat on this, stood on the little lip. I had 1 foot pressed against the wall, which I'm surprised there's no footprints over there. I would stand up on this. I stood on the stairs. I did everything to reach this line to make it a little bit better, but I'm totally blaming the builders because I would say whoever was mudding that corner didn't do a good job. It's like crazy wavy textured. I don't care how steady my hand is. I don't care if I use a straight edge. I don't care if I use painter's tape, which we all know how painter's tape works. Nothing's gonna make it better than this. So I just told hubby, because hubby's very critical of my painting the stark color because you can see every flaw. I said, if it's not good enough, you're gonna have to do it yourself. So it'll never happen. This is how it will be, but it looks fine to me.